You have been practicing the Satipatthana, and also you have been meditating on the realities of life. You also practiced various meditations to help overcome the 5 hindrances. You also practiced the 4 divine dwellings: Metta, Karuna, Mudita and Upekkha. So these meditations you should try to continue. Even if you end of this retreat, you take the 5 precepts, but still you can continue the meditation. And the more you continue the meditation, the closer you become to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, and to the Sangha. The closer you become to the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, the closer you become to Nirvana or Nibbana. Nirvana is the ultimate aim of every Buddhist, and the main thing about Nirvana is to give up the notion of self and become completely selfless. So, if you practice the meditation, you will be able to get closer and closer to this ideal. So I hope you'll continue the practice even when you go home and live the normal life from time to time, morning and evening, and even in between, whenever possible, to get into the meditation. And that is the only thing that will help you to overcome all suffering. So I hope you continue in that way, and we'll see you again in a few hours. Continue the meditation till then. So sit with your back straight and become aware of the breathing. You see whether it is a long breath or a short breath. You don't pull the breath in or push the breath out. You just let go of all efforts and tension and just be aware of the breathing as it comes in, as it goes out. Relaxing the body, calming the mind. So we have come to the end of our retreat, and so do you have any questions to ask now? Yeah?
We have a combined question.
Uh-huh.
For few of us, we have a
Combined question. Uh-huh.
Bhante, we want to know the relationship between Brahma Viharas, jhanas, and the steps in Paticca Samuppada. What are their relationships? Can all three be put together in one sort of relationship? Four Brahma Viharas, four jhanas, and steps in Paticca Samuppada.
Well, the first thing to understand is that we need to go through the jhanas to get a full comprehension of the Paticca Samuppada. The jhanas is the way to gain that. There are two ways of beginning to understand the Paticca Samuppada. What are you writing down? Huh? Okay. You see how the Buddha became a Buddha is important to understand. You know that the Prince Siddhartha left the palace and went into the forest and learned from two advanced meditators, Alara Kalama and Uddaka Ramaputta. They had reached a high level of jhanas and samadhi. And when we talk about the jhanas, it is important to understand that what are called the first four jhanas they are what are called affective states. Now the affective affective. Now we spoke of two things, the affective and the cognitive. The affective is the emotional part and the cognitive is the thinking part. You remember that, huh? Now, the four jhanas are a process of calming down the affective part. And the other sadhana, sometimes people call jhanas, but that is not jhanas. Because they are called ayatanas. Akasananchayatana, Viññānañchayatana, Akinchanyayatana, Neva Sanya Nasanyayatana. They are called ayatanas, not jhanas. The difference is that the jhanas are a calming down of the cognitive process. Calming down of the affective process. But what are called ayatanas are a calming down of the cognitive process. That is the important thing to understand. So, Alara Kalama and Uddakarama Putta had gone beyond the jhanas and they have been attaining high levels of the ayatanas. So they both had reached what is called Akinchanyayatana. Now the first one is Akasanantayatana, means infinite space. Do you know what that means? You see, you have to understand what that means. You see, jhana means when you have freed the mind of the hindrances, which are emotional states, what are called the five hindrances, kama, chanda, vyapada, tīna, midda, uddhacha, kukkucha. These are emotional states. To get rid of those hindrances means the emotional states which are agitations of the body and mind is stopped. That means calmness is something that is shaking has stopped. You understand? And in that stopping, when the hindrances are gone, what is in the mind is what we call the jhanangas. What are jhanangas? Vitakka, vichara, pīti, sukha, ekaggata. What we call vitakka, vichara is conceptual thinking. That means we ask a question, what is this? This is a book. What is this is the question, this is a book is the answer. And that is the formation of a concept. That is what we call thinking. What we call thinking is the formation of a concept. So in the first jhana, the mind is free of emotional disturbances, but there is conceptual thinking. When you enter the second jhana, that conceptual thinking stops. That means you don't ask, what is this? You don't come to the conclusion, this is a book. You might see the book, but you don't ask the question, what is this? You don't answer the question, this is a book. You see? Because if your eye is open, you might see it. But you don't ask the question or answer the question. That is, thinking is not there. So in the second jhana, you have only priti, sukha and ekaggata. Priti is a happiness of the mind, and sukha is the comfort of the body, and ekaggata means the mind is not divided. When you enter the third jhana, priti disappears. So that happiness is not there anymore at that point. Because the happiness is seen at that point as excitement. Happiness is seen as an excitement, and so you drop the happiness. But that doesn't mean that you become unhappy. Unhappy is also an excitement. Then it comes under the nivaranas. You don't get back to nivaranas. So there is no unhappiness, there is no happiness. Mind is very calm and still. When you come to the fourth jhana, the comfort is also gone. That doesn't mean that you become uncomfortable. It is a neutral state. No comfort, no uncomfort. But your mind is focused because the ekaggata is there. Ekaggata means the mind is united. So the mind is focused on an object. You understand? So if the mind is focused on an object, the object is seen, no? If your mind is focused on an object, the object is seen, but you don't think about the object. That thinking part is gone. But you can see the object. You understand? So in the fourth jhana, you can see the object. But there is also another thing in the fourth jhana. Ekaggata and upekka. Upekka means seeing the inside. What is the inside? It is turned inwards. What is the in? That is the process of seeing. So you are able to look at not the object, but you are also able to see the process of seeing. You understand? So the inside is the process of seeing. So there is seeing the object and also the process of seeing. Now what happens is, now that is in the fourth jhana. Now you begin to go beyond that fourth jhana. Then what happens is, you take your attention away from the object that is seen. And you focus on the process of seeing. So when you take your attention away from the object, what do you see? You don't see any objects. That is, in other words, you are seeing only empty space. That is what is called akasananchayatana. Akasa. Akasa means empty space. Then, now you focus your attention on the process, and that process of perception is what is called vijnanam. So you begin to see the process of perception. That is called vijnananchayatana. So you are aware of the process of perception. Then the next stage is you give up that process of perception also. Then what are you seeing? You are seeing nothing. So seeing nothing is what is called akinchanyayatana. Akincha means nothing. So you are seeing nothing. Akinchanyayatana. So Alara Kalama had come to that point. You understand? So he wanted to go further, so Alara Kalama could not teach him to go beyond that. So he went to the other person, Uddakarama-putta. Uddakarama-putta said, I have also only come to that same point. But my teacher, who died, had reached another point. So I can only tell you what my teacher taught me. If you want, you can try to get into that state. So, this our seeker who became the Buddha, now said, okay, you tell me what your teacher taught you, I will try it. And he tried. And that is, he gave up the akinchanyayatana. And that is the state called neva sanya na sanyayatana. So he reached that point, neva sanya na sanya, which means neither perception nor no perception. Neva sanya na sanyayatana. So he reached that state. And then this Uddaka Ramaputta said, okay, you have now reached my teacher's state. So I will treat you as my teacher. You stay here. He said, no, I'm not interested in being your teacher. I want to go beyond this point. So he said, I am not able to help you anymore. That is how he decided to go and try the asceticism. So he went and met these 5 ascetics. Kondanya, Badhya, Vappa, Mahanama, Asaji. 5 people who were practicing asceticism. So he thought, now I'll try asceticism and see, because he couldn't go beyond that. So he started fasting. So he fasted till he became a skeleton. You know about that story. So he fasted, and then he thought, still he has not been able to understand this. I will try to stop breathing. So he stopped breathing. You know what happens when you stop breathing? If you are able to stop breathing, you will die. So, but he stopped breathing to a long period and he went unconscious. So when he went unconscious, he can't stop breathing, no? The breathing automatically happens. So somehow after becoming unconscious, he again became conscious. So when he became conscious, he began to think, I have tried the worst kind of asceticism that I can do. I didn't become enlightened. And he thought, all these days I was making a big mistake. I have been practicing all these paramitas. Through many lives I have been making sacrifices of all kinds. And now I am trying to learn from other people. That is the mistake I am making. And then he began to remember when he was a small child, when there was this period where the celebration of the what do you call? Ploughing, yeah. That ploughing ceremony. At that time, as a child, he automatically entered the first jhana. And then he thought, that is what I should be doing. Why am I trying to do what other people are doing? That was a very happy state. And being happy there doesn't mean that I am going after sensual pleasures. It was a happiness which was not going after sensual pleasures. It was a happy state of the mind. So there is nothing wrong in becoming happy. So I will enter that state. So he entered again the first jhana. Then he went to the second jhana. Then he went to the third jhana. Then he went to the fourth jhana. Then from there again he went to the infinite space. Went to the infinite perception. Then went to the nothingness. Then went to the the nothingness. Then from nothingness he went to neither perception or non-perception. And he gave up that also. So it's all a process of giving up. And then he gave up sensation and perception. He had only to go one step further. And he went that one step by giving up. So that is the important thing that he practiced, was the giving up, letting go. That's the important thing to understand. So when he did the giving up, he entered that state. And that state means he became completely unconscious. There was no consciousness of any kind at that point. So the mind stopped. So in other words, what is called the mind is not another entity separate from the body. It is an activity of the body. And so, from that state, he woke up again. So, when he wakes up from that state, what happens? He comes back to neither perception nor non-perception again. Then from that, he went back again to nothingness, then to the perception, infinite perception, the infinite space, went back to the fourth jhana, went back to the third, then to the second, then to the first. The moment he came back like that, he began to see how the mind is working. And what he saw was how from a state of not knowing anything, he comes to become conscious. So it is at the fourth jhana that he begins to think again, no? Conscious. And with that consciousness, he began to see how all the senses begin to work, and you begin to comprehend or identify objects. These various things are identified. These are table, these are chair, and so on. And the whole world is identified that way. And then from there, then you begin to like and dislike what you have identified. The moment you begin to like and dislike, you begin to personalize that liking and disliking. That is what is called upadana. And then once you personalize, you come into existence. A self comes into existence. And once the self has come into existence, you begin to identify the self as the body. And then the body becomes something that occupies space and time. And then you begin to see that the body has a past, present and future, which means birth, aging and death. And with that comes suffering. So in other words, he saw the Paticca So it is when he saw the Paticca that he began to understand that this whole world and the self is all created by this process of perception. And it is not a reality. The world that we are aware of is not a reality. So you see the connection between the jhanas and the ayatanas and how ultimately the Paticca Samuppada is understood. It is only when the Paticca Samuppada is properly understood that you awaken from the dream of existence. You understand?
Okay, so the relationship between ayatanas and jhana can be summarized to the Paticca Samuppada then. The relationship between ayatanas and the jhanas results in the whole path of Paticca.
And the metta, karuna, mudita.
Okay, that's what I want to know now. How does metta, karuna and mudita fits in with that?
No, this is why I said, if you practice the metta bhavana properly, you enter the first jhana. When you practice the karuna properly, you enter the second jhana. When you enter the mudita properly, you enter the third jhana. And when you enter the upekka properly, you enter the fourth jhana. Now the important thing is that once you are able to enter the fourth jhana, and if you have learned the Four Noble Truths before, that means a person who has entered the fourth jhana listens to the Buddha from the fourth jhana, you can begin to understand the Paticca Samuppada. That means you have not gone to the ayatanas. Without going to the ayatanas, while in the fourth jhana, you can begin to understand the Paticca Samuppada. Why? Because in the fourth jhana, you are able to become aware of the process of perception. And that means you are able to become aware of what are called the Pancha Khanda. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. That is the starting point of the Paticca Samuppada. So when you have understood the process of perception properly, from there on, understanding the Paticca Samuppada becomes easy. And that way you can understand the Paticca Samuppada and thereby understand the Four Noble Truths or the fourfold supernormal reality. And then that way you can become an Arahant.
So Bhante,
Huh?
the latter you explained is like a shortcut.
That's the shortcut.
The shortcut. There's
Yeah.
a long way and there's a there's a long way and there's a short way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is why it is called understanding it by going to the fourth jhana is called Panya Vimukti. That is called Panya Vimukti. And understanding after going to the stopping of sensation and perception, that is called Ubato Bhaga Vimukti. So two kinds of Vimuktis, Panya Vimukti and Ubato Bhaga Vimukti.
Bhante, what is Cheto Bimukti then?
What is that?
What is Cheto Bimukti?
That's a good one. The thing is, the Cheto Vimukti is any of the all these jhanas are kinds of Cheto Vimukti. The jhanas and the ayatanas are all different kinds of Cheto Vimukti, different degrees of purification of the mind. That is the meaning of Cheto Vimukti. But they are not permanent purifications. Cheto Vimukti is different from Panya Vimukti. Panya Vimukti, you have to understand the Paticca Samuppada. Cheto Vimukti is simply purification of mind, but such a purity can become impure again. You see? This is the difference. So, Cheto Vimukti is not enough. It has to be a Panya Vimukti.
Bhante, before the attainment of the ayatana,
Yeah?
did Bodhisattva attain the fourth jhana?
What?
Did Bodhisattva attain the fourth jhana before attaining the ayatana?
Yeah, you can't attain the ayatanas without attaining the jhanas.
No, because I just remember he was tracing back again to the earlier stage. That it seems like a.
Did you ask about fourth jhana or Saptabhujanga?
No, jhana. Fourth jhana.
Huh? But the thing is, they are at that early stage where they entered the ayatanas with the Alar Kalama, Uddakarama Putta. It was not described as the four jhanas. But they had to go through that. But it was not seen in that form.
Bhante, maybe Bhante could explain to us the 5 upapadis. Chakku upapadi, Jnana udapadi, Panya udapadi, Avijja upapadi, and Aloko. Could Bhante explain where did this come? In which point of the attainment?
You see, the important thing is these are words that come in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. The Buddha was trying to describe to the 5 ascetics about his attainment. So he described the attainment in that form. Chakkung udapadi, not upapadi, it's udapadi. Udapadi means arose. We have the word arise or arose. Chakkung udapadi, chakku means the eye. And an eye appeared. That is the meaning of chakkung udapadi. Jnanang udapadi means knowledge appeared. Chakkung udapadi, Jnanang udapadi, Aloko udapadi. A light appeared. These are just synonyms of simply enlightenment. Aloko udapadi, Panya udapadi, insight appeared. This is just a way of describing his enlightenment. These are not different things.
Bhante, one of the factors for Sotapan is Vichikicha.
To become a Sotapanna, there are 3 factors: Sakkaya Ditthi, Vichikicha, and Silabbata Paramasa. Sakkaya Ditthi, I translate as the personality perspective. That means you are personalizing your body. Mainly, you personalize the body and say, this is myself. Normally, if someone wants to take your picture, what does he do? Take a camera and take a picture of the body. So the body becomes yourself. If you want to say, this is myself, what do? You say, put like this and say, this is myself. That means you are referring to the body. So normally people think of the body as myself. Not only you think like that, other people also think in the same way. So everyone takes the body as the self. That is the meaning of Sakkayaditthi. You are thinking of a self, and that is why, that is your personality. When you use that word personality, that means what you refer to as yourself. So it's mainly the body that you refer to as yourself. Sakkayaditthi. Vicikiccha is another thing. I told you that your mind is divided into two. That is the vicikiccha. Now, in the what is normally called the Noble Eightfold Path, I call it the Supernoble Eightfold Way. The thing is, the first is Sammaditthi. That Sammaditthi is understanding really what are called the Four Noble Truths. Dukkha, the cause, the end of dukkha, and the way leading to the end of dukkha. But in that understanding, what you really understand is dukkha is to understand what are called the panchakhandha, the five constituents of perception. That means the process of perception you have personalized and you think of a self. That itself is the dukkha. So all the unhappiness and suffering is because you are thinking of a self that exists. And that is the Sakkayaditthi. That is the personality perspective. You are thinking of a personality. Thinking of the personality. But vicikiccha is you not only after you have understood this thing the proper way, the next thing is for you to turn in the right direction. Now, if you are going somewhere and someone tells you you are going in the wrong direction, you have to turn in the other direction. So then, once you know that you have been going in the wrong direction, you have to turn in the other way. That turning in the other way is what I call reorientation. Reorientation means turning in the other way. You are taking a U-turn. So what you call the U-turn is the reorientation. Now, if you have not really turned in the opposite direction, that is because your mind is going in two different directions. Now you know this is the way to go, but still you are attached to going in the wrong direction. So that is the vichikicha. So it is the vichikicha that is preventing you from going in the wrong direction. Now, I have explained all these things to you, but still you want to go home now. If you really understood what I am saying, you should be staying here, not going home. But you want to go home. Why? Because vichikicha. Yeah? Now, if you ask Sister Bodhi, she has not given up the home. You see, that is the vichikicha. So you can't give up the home. This is a problem. So vichikicha means that. And the other thing is, when you are able to give up the vichikicha, the next step is begin to speak in a different way, act in a different way, and live in a different way. That is the meaning of Silabbata Paramasa. Silabbata Paramasa means that sila means to avoid doing the wrong things. Bata means doing the right things. So there are two things called the wrong things and the right things. You have to stop doing the wrong things and begin to do the right things. So, but paramasa. Now a person might think, oh, well, our friend here who is our Sister Bodhi's brother, yeah. Now, he might think, well, my sister has become a nun. Why not I will also become a monk. Might think like that. But then it may be because sister wants him to become a monk, he wants to become monk. Or is it because he wants to become a monk? So there are two possibilities. Now, if you want to become a monk because your father wanted you to do so, or because your teacher wanted you to do so, or just because some other people want you to do so, then that is what is called heteronomic ethics. That means you are practicing your good behavior or avoiding bad behavior because to please other people, not because you want to do it. That is heteronomous morality. The other one is, if you really want to do it yourself, that is called autonomous morality. So what is called paramasa means heteronomous morality. you are behaving in a certain way to please other people. Because your teacher wants, or your mother wants, or your father wants, you are becoming an... Now, most monks today, especially in Sri Lanka and Burma and all these places, children are ordained. So when the children are ordained, do they know why they have become monks? They don't know why. It is simply the parents go and say, it's very good for you to become a monk, and you are made a monk there. You see, that is heteronomous monkhood. Heteronomous monkhood. So it is only if you become an adult and you read the Dhamma and understand the value of becoming a monk, then it becomes autonomous. You understand? That is the meaning of Silabbata Paramasa. Silabbata Paramasa means you become a monk or you renounce just to please other people. That is the heteronomous morality. So, a person who is Sotapanna is a person who has given up the idea of the self, that it is incorrect to say this body is myself, and you have also given up the vichikicha, where the mind divides into two and pulls in two different directions. You have completely turned the other way, about turn, a U-turn. Not because other people want you to do it, because you want to do it. You have understood. That is the meaning of Sotapanna. You understand, huh? So it's a very different thing. Any other question?
Bhante translated avidya as an unconsciousness. According to the Sammaditthi Sutta, I can see like dukkhe anyanang, samudaye anyanang is like that. So it's referring more like a knowledge. That means that not knowing that Sammaditthi or kind of thing is avidya, but Bhante translate. So could you, Bhante, elaborate?
This is the problem that I have met. People are criticizing me a lot about this point. Because people read that and say, well, according to the Buddha, if you don't know the Four Noble Truths, that is the meaning of avidya. So in that case, you don't have avidya. If you don't have avidya, you are an arahant. Huh? Because to be an arahant, avidya has to disappear. So if you have read about the Four Noble Truths, you know what it is, then the avidya is gone, then you are an arahant. You see? So avidya is not just hearing about the Four Noble Truths. That is not the point here. To understand the Four Noble Truths properly, you have to understand the Paticca Samuppada properly. It's only when you have fully understood the Paticca Samuppada fully, and you are fully awakened, then only the real Avidya disappears. That means you have not, till you have entered either the fourth jhana or that stopping of the things, you have not got rid of avidya. Yeah.
Can we take, Bhante, the same meaning that avidya in the paticca samuppada also? Can we take the same meaning in the paticca samuppada?
Avidya is the same wherever it is.
Because I saw that Bhante translate that unconsciousness or something. So
No,
maybe I'm
I
not
use
very
the word insentience. Insentience means you don't know anything. That means you have complete absence of any kind of knowledge. That is the real avidya. That means when you enter the neva sanya, na sanya atana, that is the real avidya at that point. But when you come out of that, you have, when you understood only there is still the avidya is there till you have fully comprehended the Four Noble Truths. That full comprehension of the Four Noble Truths comes when you have understood the Paticcasamuppada fully. Then only vidya comes.
That was my question.
So absence of vidya is avidya.
Sadhu, Bhante.
Yeah.
That was my question. That was going to be my question.
What?
The one about avidya, the absence of avidya is the arising of vidya.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absence of vidya is the avidya. Any other question? No more questions. You are now enlightened.
Bhante, I just asked one more question. This is on the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta.
What?
This is on the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. There's a part where Ayasma Kondanya gets the Chakku Udapadi. And after his arising of the Chakku, there's a lot of commentaries in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta about all the devas from so many different places. Tawatimsa, Chatu Maharajika Deva. So in that Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, all those parts about these devas coming and saying sadhu and giving their salutation to Kondana's achievement, how does that fit into this experiential approach which we take? Can you give us some info on this?
What is your question is whether the devas understood this?
No.
Is that what you're asking?
No, the existence of devas in that sutta,
Yeah,
the existence of devas
yeah,
in that sutta
yeah,
shows so many different realms.
yeah,
Yes. So,
No, this is to say that those days they didn't have newspapers, no? But, but what the newspaper is doing now, those days it went in that same way. How the news went to the heaven. That is what he's talking about.
Bhante, once you mentioned there's a difference between pasana and dasana. Bhante, could you please explain? Okay. Both are seeing.
Well, that's a good question. Only thing is that pasana means seeing. Dasana means knowing. Do you know the difference between seeing and knowing? Seeing comes from the eye, knowing comes from the brain. Knowledge is the thinking. You open your eyes, you can see things. But when you see, you can also know things, but knowledge needs thinking. Huh?
Bhante, that thinking is yoniso maniskara? That thinking, is it yoniso?
Yoniso manasikara is a little different. Yoniso manasikara is a different way of thinking. Thinking in terms of origin. Yoni means the origin. So you can think in terms of origin.
So is that related to panya?
Huh?
Is that related to panya? Is yoniso maniskara related more closer to panya?
Oh yes, yes. Yoniso manasikara leads to panya. Thinking in terms of the origin. That is the yoniso manasikara. You see this word, English word, called reasoning. What is the meaning of reasoning? You are asking for the reason. What is the reason for this? That is yoniso manasikara. When you ask for the reason for something, if you see this man, friend, what is this man's name? Who began to speak about gravity?
Albert Einstein, Newton.
Isaac Newton.
Isaac Newton, yeah.
So he saw apple falling down. When he saw the apple falling down, he began to think, what is the reason for this apple to fall down? That was Yoniso Manasikara. Always trying to find the reason, and ultimately he discovered this thing called gravity. He began to think. So this is why the Buddha says that to understand the Paticca Samuppada, you have to do Yoniso Manasikara. So it is through thinking what is the reason for this that you begin to understand Paticca Samuppada.
So Bhante, Yoniso Manasikara is actually involved with Vichara. It actually starts with Vichara. In the Vitaka Vichara?
Vichara simply means questioning. Vichara means questioning.
So this reasoning should come from questioning, and that questioning is actually philosophy.
Yeah. All philosophers are doing questioning, no? And trying to answer, that is Yoniso Manasikara. That is what the philosophers are doing. When Descartes said, I think, therefore I am, he was doing Yoniso Manasikara. That's how he is. Only problem is that he made the mistake. He came to the conclusion that there was a self. He came to the conclusion that there is a self.
Bhante, René Descartes should have said, I feel, therefore I am.
Yeah, the feeling.
The feeling led to the self.
Yeah.
I feel, therefore I am.
Yeah.
He's correct.
Huh?
Then he would be correct. Instead of cogito ergo sum,
Yeah.
it should be sentire ergo sum. Sentire is sentience.
But cogito is the thinking, no?
Yeah, that's
I
right.
think,
So
yeah.
that should change to sentience. Sentire ergo sum.
Yeah.
It's more correct.
But still the self idea comes, no?
Yeah, from the feeling.
Yeah.
But he was a clever man.
Huh?
Descartes was a very clever man.
What's that?
Descartes was a very clever man. He put the blame on the devil and avoided confronting God with Christianity.
Descartes, he was mainly thinking about existence, no? Okay, now it's 3 o'clock. So I think,
We can finish here, Bhante.
huh?
We can finish here.
Yeah.
My Vichikisha say we should finish here.
Yeah. So we can bring everything to a conclusion. So you have asked many questions and you have become enlightened to some extent, huh? So the important thing is to act according to your understanding. Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatti. That is what it means. Once you have understood, the next thing is to act according to your understanding. Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatti. And so today maybe we have to think that you have devoted how many days? 5 and 4. 5 and 4. 9 days, huh? So anyway, even 9 days, and if you did properly, and maybe you also listen to the Dhamma, so you have been meditating and you have been thinking about the Dhamma. And this way, you have earned some merits which will help you to at least become enlightened when the next Buddha comes. Huh? But that will be a long time. So,
Bhante, what is his flight number? I go to KL, I pick him up. What is his flight number?
so the important thing is, you should try to become enlightened before the next Buddha comes. So if you really begin to meditate in the proper way, you will have to give up the vicikicca. Vicikicca with pulls in the opposite direction. So this is why it's very important to overcome these 3 things: sakkaya ditthi, vicikicca, and silabbata paramasa. Sakkaya ditthi is the personality perspective, vicikicca is this cognitive dissonance, and silabbata paramasa is the heteronomous morality. Heteronomous morality. These are very good words that I have found to translate these things. So it is very important to understand those things and somehow try to, if you can't do it in this life, maybe you can become monks in the next life. If you don't go to hell before that. So it's very important to live a good life so that you don't go in the wrong direction. So let us wish that, and also now do you want to take the 5 precepts now? Huh? So those who want to take the 5 precepts, if you like, you could keep the 8 precepts and go home, and maybe you can take the 5 precepts on your own at home. Otherwise, we can take the 5 precepts now, and then you have time to do other things. Huh? So, to take the 5 precepts, then say Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. We take the 5 precepts. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinnadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu micchācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Suramere majja pamadattana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Tisaranena sadding panchasilang dhammang sadhukang surakkitang katva appamadena sampadeta. So now you have taken the 5 precepts, but still you should not be hurting others or destroying life, not stealing, not committing adultery, not lying, not using harsh language, and not taking intoxicants. This is the meaning of the 5 precepts. So it's very important, and still you can be meditating, and you can also do the morning exercises. You can do the exercises not only in the morning, you can also do it in the evening. So, best thing is to keep a relaxed body and a calm mind all the time. Always be watching the body. The kaya gata sati means you are always focused on the body to find out whether the body is relaxed or your mind is happy. So it's very important to practice those things, and as far as possible try to meditate mornings and evenings. It's very important. Here,